All right. Hopefully, we're going to be live here. Miss Ruth, hello. How are you? It's good to see you, Miss Ruth. I hope you're doing okay. I miss chatting with you. I do. Can you hear me? And hi, Peggy. Can you hear me and see me okay, both of you? I hope. I know I've been away for a while, so that always screws up things. You're good. Hey, Linda. Thank you. Good to see you. I'm so glad you guys are here. I am ready. I am ready to be back and doing fun stuff. I'm loud and clear? Okay, good. As long as it's loud and clear and okay. And not too loud. Good to see you, good to see you. All right. You know, every time I am gone, it seems like things change on YouTube a little bit. I noticed that things changed a little bit while I was trying to watch some stuff while I was gone. I'm like, that didn't look like that the last time I was watching. Any hoot. Anyway, I'm trying to find my space. We left with so much stuff that needed to be done. I thought Elton was going to flake out on me. I think he thought about it. And I was kind of like, you know, if that happened, okay, I'm going to be good with it. Because life was just, it was, you know how it is when you try to get ready to go somewhere? It's just like everything that can go askew kind of does. Anyway, I hope, hey Dorothy, I hope Tim is doing okay. I saw that, hello Tori, and who else did I miss? Franna, hello, welcome. Linda, I saw something, I guess it was on Instagram, about a storm or something that it took a bunch of stuff but left his garden space. So that was cool. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. And I'm glad I'm here. And yeah, and I have 3 cats in the house with me. So it's entirely possible that I will have to stop and put cats out. Because there's one on the floor right beside me who wants desperately to be up here. Another one just came in the room. If they hear me talking, they assume, just like with Chance and Charlie, they assume that I'm only talking to them. And then cat number 3 has been in here already. Cat number 4 does not come in the house. I'm running a cat house, people. I'm running a cat house. Take it any way you want. They're so much company. They're great. I love them. And they're just kind of crazy. Tim as well. He wants to know if I get my coffee every day. I don't get to have it in the afternoon like I used to because I don't live close enough to the coffee place. However, I have a coffee pot and I can make my own. But that's so kind of him to remember that I did that. Yeah, Clausman and I went and had coffee every afternoon. We surely did. Yeah, every afternoon. We did it for years and years. But I don't get to do that right now. Yeah, I sure don't. But it's okay. I'm a big girl. I can make coffee right here in my own house if I want to. It just was more fun when we would, meet in the afternoon. It was something that gave us a thing to look forward to every afternoon. And it was our way to download the day. We would meet. We would have to meet different places, actually, because people would discover where we were meeting. There was one girl in particular when I was in college, and she was a little, we'll just say she was a little different. And she had the most massive crush on Clausman, the most massive crush. I don't think she'd ever dated anybody, and I know she had never been married, and I don't know that she lives in our area anymore. But she had the most massive crush on him. And so when she finally discovered where we were having coffee, she would go there and she would just come join us. Because he was nice to her, you know? And I'm like, oh goodness, you know, so it defeated the whole purpose of us meeting. And so we would have to periodically change the place that we met for coffee. Anyway, so yeah, so every once in a while we'd have to change spots, but it is what it is. A tornado hit his pump shed and 2 windows in his house broke. Everyone inside is safe. Oh, good. Hi, Cheryl. I am so glad that he's okay. But it left his garden space, right? Isn't that? I think that's what I saw on Instagram. Anyway, I'm a little stuffed up. Elton and I both came back with some sort of creeping crud. Fortunately, it waited till the last day and a half before it got us. So where we went, I will catch you up on that. I'm sure we'll talk more about it as I stream over the next few times. His son and his wife, Elton's son and his wife, we're going on. They love to cruise, and they cruise a lot. They travel a lot. They cruise a lot. And so they asked us if we would like to go with them. And on this cruise. Well, it turns out there was a group of 12 of us. So it was son, daughter-in-law, their best friends who have 2 little boys who are 10 and 11, sweet, cute boys. And also the friends, her parents, and her 2 brothers. So it was kind of like we went on a family cruise, except it was 2 parts of 2 families that were together. And, you know, we knew some people, but not all the people. And, you know, there was a couple days in the beginning where you kind of have to get your bearings and you have to get acquainted with each other. And we ended up doing that quite well. And we had a lot of fun with them. We totally enjoyed everybody. But it was, anyway, so what we did is we flew from here to Charlotte, North Carolina. We spent the night there, got up at the crack of dark 30 the next morning to get to the airport where we met. I don't even remember now. We met, I guess, all of us except for 2, the other parents. All of us met in a group. We all got on the same plane. We flew from Charlotte, North Carolina to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Hello, Miss Dana. I didn't touch his garden. That is, tornadoes are so weird. And I am so grateful it didn't touch his garden. That is good. That is so good. Hello, Jenny Journaler. I love that name, Jenny Journaler. So we went to San Juan, Puerto Rico, where we checked into a hotel. We stayed there one night. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. And the next day, I think it was, we went to the cruise ship, boarded the cruise ship in San Juan, and the cruise went around the Southern Caribbean, or Caribbean, however you'd like to say it. And we stopped at a number of different ports. So it was a week. We went from Saturday to Saturday, I think. But I'm telling you, the time when you're traveling and you're doing stuff, it's just like time just goes into this warp and you don't really have any idea where you are, what you're doing. So, thanks to everyone here who was able to prior to the cruise and me leaving. I wish you could see these cats. There is, I know you can't see him, but there's one at the door who is coming in. He's sneaking in, and yeah. All right, hopefully this is going to work. Maybe Elton will get home and manage cats. Because at the moment, they're just having a really wonderful time because mom's busy, just like little kids. Come here, Beckett. Come here. You want to come see everybody? Come here. Come here. Come on. Come on. He has the most beautiful face. Yeah, this is Beckett. Yeah, he has a brother. Socks is his brother. This is Beckett. He used to have another name. We changed it. He's a little ratty looking at the moment. He needs a good brushing. But this is Beckett. And he is, look at that face. Could you not, can you stand it? It's just beautiful. Yeah, his name is Beckett. Pardon me. I'll tell you, the creeping crud. You want to get down? He got the name Beckett because that was the name associated associated with his former people. So we had to change his name because we already had one of our outdoor cats that had the same name as this one. And so this one got to be renamed. But he knows. He knows his name down. You know, it was all the crud has come from us being, I'm sure, traveling with billions of other people on the cruise ship. But anyway, I'm fine. Much better than I was even yesterday. But the voice, when I just talk, kind of gets going. It looks like you're half Maine Coon, half Ragdoll. He's not a big cat. He is the smallest of all the cats, but he likes to bully people. So he's a mess. Anyway, so thanks to all of you, back to the thing at hand. Thanks to all of you, I got my journal ready to go, and I was actually able to keep up with it pretty well until we got, I think, the last day. Yeah, I journaled on Friday and most part of Friday, and then we came back on Saturday, I think. Anyway, so in case you didn't see the journal, this was the one that I made. It's a moleskin notebook. It's a traveler's notebook style. And this was fabric that I painted in a class, and then I did some stitching on it. We did it all on stream. We also made these hearts on stream. They were made out of junk, trash, and threads, and all kinds of stuff. And so that was what I did with that. I attached it to this cover, put trim around it. The trim is going to have a little additional glue here and there. But can you see those eyeballs in there? Can you see those eyes? The cabin steward that we had, and there was another one here. See those two? The cabin steward that we had, which is on a cruise. If you've never been on a cruise, that's the guy that takes care of your room. And I always try to make it easy on him. You know, I know there are a lot of people that live like pigs on a cruise ship, because they're like, well, these are my servants. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're people. And so on many of the cruise ships, they will take washcloths, wash rags, and they fold them into different animals. And our guy was from Bali, and sweet guy. These people work hard. They really work hard, and he was no exception. We have never had a bad steward in the cruises that we've taken. Anyway, but what he did is he would fold up these animals. The first one was a dinosaur, like a brontosaurus. The next one was, I don't know, I'd have to look back at my pictures. I took pictures of all of them. But anyway, he would use rubber bands to hold the feet in place and stuff like that. And there was one he actually used tape on to hold it together. And some of the other ones we've seen in the past, they didn't do that. They would fold them all up, and they didn't have eyes. Well, these stick-on eyes, okay, these stick-on eyes, those were on the animals. I missed the first one that he did. I didn't get the eyes taken off before he took the creature away. I thought I was just going to have this collection of these, you know, cool animal shapes across, you know, in the room, but no. And so then I started taking the eyes off and plunking those straight away into my journal, see? And then I thought, I better tell him what I'm doing. It's not that I'm creeped out by the eyes, because sometimes, you know, people get creeped out by stuff like that. So I showed him the last day. And so I did... I'm trying to cover up some of my stuff that I wrote here. And then you can see it closer up, because you don't need to see my writing, okay? You don't need to see that. Nobody wants to see the crazy that lives inside Barb's head. Nobody does. Okay. All right, there we go. I got it closed. Yeah, okay. Here we go. So what I did is I plunked the eyes into my journal, and then I added beaks, and I did everything in pencil at this point, which I will eventually go back and ink it all, probably. Or not. It depends on if I have time to do that, or if I can... It's more like, can I justify the time to do it? And then on this side, I will show you these. So these were the ones on this side, so I drew them more like, you know, I added things more like the Goofy Relatives kind of thing. But they were so much fun. I mean... There is nothing quite as, I mean, it's not entirely true that there's nothing quite as much fun, but those are really fun to do. And just to, you know, start with the eyes. I always start with the eyes when I do my funny relatives anyway. Hey, Rhonda. Okay, so then I also, so thank you for joining me in making my journal. I did that many pages, and I plunked things in here with, I took washi tape, I took 2 rolls of washi tape, a glue stick, a very few pens, and a pencil, and so that's how that worked. I also took with me a watercolor, this is a Moleskine watercolor journal, and a fan of watercolors. There were Meeden, M-E-E-D-E-N, watercolors. And so one day, we kept stopping at ports every day, which is fine. The islands were not that far apart. And we stopped at a port every day, and we did some stuff every day. But there was one day that we did not do much. Elton and I didn't. And we might have gotten off the ship or not. I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look back in my journal, which is why I wrote in the journal every day so I could remember, because everything just blends together. Anyway, I had this fan of watercolors, which I don't think I have in here with me. Let's see. No. They're still in my journaling bag. But these are all the colors that were in this strip, and it was a fan that, the strips pull out. It's a lot of watercolors, but you can't tell what the colors are, honestly. So I swatched them all out. There are some beautiful colors in there. And then this and this, I was showing Elton something. Those were just my thing that I was doing. And so, every journal, and I've told you guys this, every journal has to have some relatives in it. And so these are my Caribbean relatives of questionable character. This is my version of sort of a Caribbean shirt. I may add more flowers in the sleeve, probably will, and maybe add another sleeve back here. But this is and I don't know if this person is male or female, but I often don't know if they're male or female. But these are my goofy relatives that, we saw so many people with lots of wonderful dreadlock type or braided type hairstyles, and so that was just kind of my rendition of that. And so Ruth says I should have asked him where he gets his stickers. It would have been a good idea. Anyway, so I painted those. That was really the only painting I did on the ship. While we were gone, I took lots of pictures. I was going to have the little boys that were with us name the people, and they were really interested in what I was doing, but they were not interested in learning how to do it. They were not interested in sitting still long enough to name them. So if you have any suggestions of names, I would entertain whatever your names are for these. So if you want to tell me who you think they are, I will jot your names in here. So feel free to stick them in the chat, but you've got to tell me which one you're naming, or if you're naming all three. So left, middle, right. Okay? Or let's do this. We'll just do 1, 2, 3. How about that? So if you want to suggest names, you feel free to do that. You have a pencil case with them on? Ah, good. Yes, Mr. Beckett. He's back. Anyway, so that was about the only thing I did other than journaling while I was gone. You think, hey, Riri, so you think this is Agnes? All right, well, I think it looks more like a guy, personally. All right, we'll add the names as they come in. Hello, Connie. So anyway, if you have suggestions, I'll add them on here, and then I will eventually probably figure out what I want to call them. Priscilla. Pricilla. Henry, Max, and Agatha. See, I find this funny because we now have Henry and Priscilla, Max, and what was the last one? Agatha. Those don't sound like very Caribbean names, but also my relatives are not particularly dark complected. Anyway, if you have other suggestions, put them in the chat and I will add them. I'll leave the book open. Anyway, they were a lot of fun. They're fun to do. I love doing those silly things. So before we jump into what we're going to do tonight, I'm just going to play with and we'll see. Jalen is on the left. See, you don't know if that's a girl or a boy either. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I will look up every so often. Hey, Starla. Esmeralda. Okay. Okay. Those are funny. So remember I told you that we spent a night in a hotel in San Juan. So it gave us a chance to tour San Juan a little bit, and go out and, get some food and walk around and just kind of see San Juan a little bit. And it was a really nice hotel, not super fancy, but very nice that we stayed in. And we were all so tired that it didn't really matter. It could have been a cot on the floor, which the hotel the night before in Charlotte, North Carolina, near the airport, that's about what it was. It was sketchy. It was sketchy, but it worked out okay. And we were, again, so tired that it really didn't matter. So anyway, in San Juan, we went in, and Elton's son had gotten a handicap accessible room for us. I think that he booked that for us because we're old. But it was really nice. The shower was really big, and grab bars on the wall and stuff. I mean, it was nice to have that stuff. When you get to a certain spot, you're kind of grateful to have that stuff, but also a little shocked that people think you're that old and stick you in that, right? Oh, Agnes from Bewitched. Okay. Gotcha. So anyway, I went in there and put our, suitcases and all. It was really beautiful room. Everything was white and had tiles on the, I mean, it looked like marble. I don't think it was, but it had that look where everything was like that. And it was just beautiful, high ceilings and all that. And I went in the bathroom to wash my hands because, you just get to a point where you just feel, you travel, you fly or whatever, and you just feel grimy. You just want to wash your hands. And I looked, and I can't find any soap. I'm like, I must be blind. It's got to be in here. I looked that room over, looked all over the bathroom, looked everywhere, and finally I stumbled across a little box. And I thought, oh, this must be where the soap is, in this little box, right? So I don't worry about it. I think, oh, that's the soap. I'd already figured out how to I'd found something in my own kit of makeup bag and stuff. And so I'd wash my hands with whatever that was. But, you don't want to use up all your own stuff because you got to make it last for a week or more. And but I think, oh, it's no problem, right? So when we went for dinner or whatever, tea or some coffee. I don't know what we did. We were going, everything's a blur. Came back, went back to the hotel room. I go up and I open the little box. Okay, now I have not bothered to read what is on this little box, but I open it and this is what was in it. The tiniest, I don't even know if they cut. I would assume that they cut some thread, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that. Let's see if it cuts a thread. They are the tiniest little, Elton couldn't use these if his life depended on it. Yeah, it did cut a thread. So it was that. And then there's this. Let's see. I forgot how it opened. Does it open this way? Yeah, okay. And this. Okay, so there are pre-threaded needles in black, gray, red, brown, white, and blue with 2 buttons and a safety pin and the world's tiniest little pair of scissors. No soap. However, no soap. Santiago, Diego. Okay. I'm making a list. The one on the right. Okay, so I'm adding the names into my journal. But anyway, I just thought that almost made it worth not having soap because that was so stinking cute. So I carefully packed that in my suitcase so I could bring it back to show you guys what they had put in the room. A sewing kit, my personal tailor. Okay, so they had put that in the room, but they had not left any soap. So we went out again to eat dinner or whatever. I don't remember. And when we came back, I stopped by the front desk and I said, is there a chance that you have any soap? You know, because I've asked the other people on the, that were there also. I said, did you get any soap in your room? I think they just forgot it. But anyway, yep, pre-threaded for real. Anyway. Isn't that funny? The one in the middle is Carlos. Okay. Oh, I see some other ones up here. Okay. Okay, so who said those? Okay, Rhonda said Kaya. It's fun to hear the names. That's suggestion. Bijou. There you go. That's a name. And Maisha. Okay. Those are funny. So anyway, I ended up with a sewing kit, and then they also gave me soap, so that was good. All right. So with that being said, let's talk about the book that I took with me to read, because it is the reason we're going to do what we're going to do tonight, or at least we're going to start on it. I don't read fiction very often. Most of the time I prefer to read nonfiction. But when I travel, I let myself read fiction. The reason I don't read fiction very often is because I can't let it alone. Once I start reading a book, a fiction story will hook me, and I can't leave it alone, can't put it down. And if I don't get it finished on the trip, I will come home and do nothing but read that book. And so my rule for myself is no fiction books unless we're traveling. And so I had bought this book, I don't know, a couple of years ago and had never read it. I really didn't know if it was fiction or nonfiction. The title sucked me in. Okay? And I don't know, let me know if any of you have read this. I am about this far through the book with my napkin, my airplane napkin. Okay? So I have about maybe a little over a quarter of the book to read. And I kind of think it's a real story, but I don't know. And as I was reading this book, it is about a young couple who become art thieves. Gotcha. And in the middle of this, you know, I always love to have a book that has pictures in it. I always love that. This section right here, it's a little unusual to have color pictures in a paperback, especially one that wasn't very expensive. It was $18, so that wasn't, as prices of paperbacks and books go, that's not that expensive. Anyway, these were some of the pieces that this couple stole from museums, churches, private collections, etc. Okay? You've seen it but not read it? Okay, Dorothy. All right. Well, I'll let you know when I'm done reading it what I think. Anyway, I went through, once I saw there were color pictures in here. Some of these are very Like this one right here, I think is extremely odd. But anyway, the guy stole for basically no reason, other than he just wanted to get away with it, I guess. Anyway, this picture right down here with the flowers really intrigued me. Now, I didn't realize until later that there are butterflies in that picture as well. But that vase of flowers, I thought, was just intriguing. And so I read the description of it. It's a still life, and it's oil paints on copper. And some of these other ones in here were also, a couple of other ones were oil on copper. I was really intrigued by the fact that that you could paint on copper. I never really thought about that. I've painted on wood, I've painted on paper, you guys know that. I've painted on fabric. I've never painted on metal like that. I've painted on, years ago, I painted on pieces of metal with oil. It was toll painting types of things. But that certainly does not qualify as toll painting. That's fine art. Hello, Beckett is back. Yes. And so I was going to go buy a piece of copper, and we were going to play around with it tonight. And then I thought, oh, that's kind of silly. I don't think that's a good idea for me to go spend money on a piece of copper and oil paints to find out whether I like this or not. Yes, copper is expensive. And I was going to buy a small piece of copper. And I thought, rather than do that, let's just take a piece of watercolor paper, paint it with copper, and play around with the idea, because it might not work. Then again, it might. So that is what we have here. And the camera is probably going to just totally freak out. So we're going to give it something to look at. This is what I had. I had several different bottles of craft paint that are copper in color. This one is metallic copper from Delta Ceramcoat, the Gleams, Gleams, Gleams Light. It's acrylic. I don't know that they even make this line of paint anymore. I really don't. But anyway, so this is just a piece of watercolor paper. I think this is acrylic on this side, something that it was soaking up color from something else. The lady is very creepy. She's very creepy. She is. Oh, anyway, it's an interesting story. I don't know if I'm going to love it or I don't know. Now, the next question is, will a pencil mark on this? And the answer is no. And so I need to get like a drawing pencil. So hang on a minute, because we're going to have to draw something on here. Okay. So let's use, we're going to have to test out things to see what will show on this. What is this? I don't know. Okay, that's going to work. All right, so what I sketch on this is, I don't know. We're just going to draw some stuff. And we're going to just draw some flowers on this and just see how it works. And then I may go get a piece of copper sheeting or something at the hardware store or whatever and play with that. Okay? So it's an interesting color of copper. I actually most of the time prefer bronze, but I just wanted to see what this was going to do. So, all right. So I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to draw some of those kind of sketchy roses, and and then I have a bunch of golden fluid acrylics. I picked out the ones I have. I don't have very many of these really, but I picked out the ones that tend to be more translucent, because I want to see what happens and see if the copper will show through and kind of get an iridescent quality. That's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so let's see what happens. And then we'll keep talking. I'll tell you a story about this bracelet here in a minute. So stay tuned. We got lots of things to talk about. Okay, and so that will rub off. So that's good. I just want to see what happens. So let's start here in the middle. Okay, with a little squiggly, the middle of the flower, not the middle of the page. And let's just draw some petals. Okay, so that's kind of what my thought is. And then I'm going to move over and I'm just going to fill, I'll do a couple more of these. Let's put one over here. And then what we're going to do, I'll add some leaf shapes of some kind. And then we'll paint, because I don't want to spend all the time drawing flowers, although it wouldn't take all that long to do that. Okay, so we've got a couple of flowers, different sizes, and then maybe we'll just add, I'm just going to add a couple of leaves here, and these are not meant to be realistic, okay? No, you don't get to criticize my ability to draw flowers and leaves. You can if you want to, but these are not meant to be realistic, okay? All right, let's put another. So they're sort of rose-esque. Essence of rose. Let's come over here and let's add another couple of leaves. It's always good to let things go off the edge. So we might add another leaf that kind of goes off the edge there, and then I don't know, let's put one, and we'll call it good. Okay, and this pencil that I was drawing with was in my container of drawing pencils, which is this. Some of these were mine, some of these were Clausman's. I just put them all together, and this is Primo Elite Grande Organic Black. I have no idea what that means. Anyway, don't know where it came from. Don't know anything. I have no information. Okay, you guys still here? Hopefully. If you're not, I wish you were. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to just take my big old brush that I base coated this in and get rid of it because it's too big for this. And get a palette of paper. This is just a disposable pad of palette paper. I happen to like the disposable palettes, especially for acrylic. So I'm going to have it kind of off to the side. It is a 9 by 12 palette of palette paper. I like it because it's disposable. Acrylic paint sometimes is really a pain. Okay, thanks, Rhonda. Kind of a pain to get off of palettes and that kind of thing. I have some paper towels, and I have my assortment, my motley crew of acrylic brushes. Okay? All right, so let's see. Let's start with this big one. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. So, Diary Light Yellow and whatever that name is, okay? Yellow medium, whatever that is. Benzimidazolone, I don't know. Anyway, hi, Alicia. Now, this is high flow, so it has a ball in it. And it really is high flow, so you have to kind of be careful. I don't paint with these acrylics super well, but I'm intrigued enough with this process because of reading about that thing of flowers, that vase of flowers in this book, that I don't even know if it's true. It says true story of love, crime, and a dangerous obsession, but that could be totally false. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to put some of these colors out here, and let's just see what happens, you know? Let's just see what happens. All right, let's see if there we go. Yep, I was going to say, will the yellow come out? It did. There it is on my hand. Oh, that's okay. No problem. No problem. And this one's Diary Light Yellow. This is one of my favorite yellows. I absolutely love Diary Light Yellow. All right, let's put some of that out. It's a golden yellow. It's a warmer yellow. And let's just play. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to wet my brush, dampen my brush. I'm going to work with an angled brush. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And I'm going to pick up some of these colors. Let's see. Oh, it's going to blend with the black line. So there is that. So it's going to make it green. Okay. So it took the yellow straight into green because it blended with the black outline. So step one, we know how that works. Let me zoom in so you can see a little bit more, okay? Which means that you're not going to be able to see my palette very well, but I'll try to keep things on the screen so you can see as best I can. So we're going to pick up a little bit of this lighter yellow, and I'm just going to kind of pat it in, leaving that green around the outside. All right, so we'll see if that works. Let's do the same thing over on the other flower shape. This time let's try using the light yellow and put in here. So actually it's kind of blending with the copper as opposed to the pencil or whatever the marking tool was that I used. I thought it was blending with that. I think it's actually blending with the copper. I was going to watch some videos on painting with copper today, but I didn't because I ended up having to go get some groceries and go have lunch with Elton, and we had to do a thing at the bank today. You know how it is, business stuff. All right, let's put a little more of this. Just tap a little more of the light yellow in here. Let's take some of that golden yellow, the diary-light yellow, and tap a little bit of that in. Okay, all right, so there are the two centers. This was the lighter yellow I started with. This one started with the darker yellow. Okay, so we have the centers of the flowers, of these two flowers in. And so I'm, just because I want to see what happens, I'm going to use quinacridone magenta. The quinacridone colors are more translucent. And if you don't know if it's translucent or not, on the golden colors, they always have the black marks, and then they put a swipe of the paint over that. So if you can see the black marks, then it is more translucent. If you can't see the black marks, then it's more opaque. Right? Okay. And this one is flat. This is golden flat acrylic. So this does not have the sheen that does. And so I'm going to have to get a little bit of this paint out. Let me get a palette knife here real quick. And we're going to get a little bit of this out because I want to see what it does. So this may defeat the purpose of the copper because this is flat. But, you know, I have the color, so let's use it. And then this one is fluorescent pink, also a high flow acrylic. So I am painting with a variety of the acrylic, the golden acrylic paints, which are not inexpensive. May have to go get a drink, you guys. If I just didn't have to talk, I'd be in good shape. This has, the paint is on the top. I'm trying to deal with that. Let me see if I have a cough drop hanging around here somewhere. I do. Let me stick this in my mouth and I'll stop. Golden is great paint. It is expensive if you're judging it against craft paint, price-wise, it is expensive. I'm just trying to get my paint to open up, my paint bottle. There we go. You should always wipe off the nose of the paint bottles. I did not do that, and so it had scabbed over. So I'm just going to put out some of these, a little bit of these three colors, and then we'll just see what happens, okay? This one is very translucent. You can see by those marks. All right, let's wipe their noses off. So maybe the next time I have to get paint out of here, it won't be such a pain. All right, let's try it and see what happens. I don't know. No idea what's going to happen here. I'm going to get a hold of this quinacridone magenta, like this, mostly on one side of the brush. And I'm just going to kind of pat it in here, starting at the middle of the flower petal. Here, let's try this. This is one of those one-stroke Donna Dewberry. I'm not good at Donna Dewberry's techniques, but we're going to kind of play with that idea. I never did get into doing the one-stroke stuff. Okay, so I'm going to try to allow the petals to develop and not try to blend them into oblivion, which is usually what I tend to do. So I'm going to try to see if I can let some of that copper show through. I think my theory is that oil paint is going to do that much better, but who knows? We're just going to play. And I will continue playing with this while I tell you stories. How about that? And then I'm going to just let some of these colors kind of do their own thing as we go through this process. I'm going to just kind of let them. It's not like watercolor. Watercolor will blend, you know, the wet colors will blend into each other and all that. Oil is a different animal altogether. I don't have any oil paints anymore. But this is kind of getting some interesting effects happening. So I'm just going to let those kind of, this is all a giant experiment, you guys. Just a giant experiment, okay? All right, let's move out to the next round of petals. We'll play with a different color combo over on the other rows, or whatever that flower is over there. Let's go another round using kind of the same color combination. Let's see, let's go to this one. So you noticed this bracelet I have on right here. Looks like this on the back. This is the one I want to talk about. So there was one of the days that I think it was one of the days. Here's the way it works on a cruise ship. I didn't know because I only really started cruising or going on a cruise with Elton once I re-met him, and we started going on some trips together. And when you go into the various ports where the ship docks, then they have these offerings called excursions. And so you can get off the ship and then you meet with a tour or a tour director or what have you, and you can do excursions. And so you go do different things. All right. So one of the excursions, okay, now neither one of us, and Elton's son booked it for us. And then he says, I didn't really read the description of this very well. And they're not free. You know, you pay for them. They're not usually super expensive. Some of them can be kind of expensive. But he said, I didn't really read the description, so you might want to read that and see if it sounds like something you want to do. Well, it involved two things that are not high on my list of things to do. One is kayaking. The other, what was the other thing? Snorkeling. Kayaking and snorkeling. Neither of which sound like a great idea to Barb, and that's because I'm not a swimmer. My son in our family is the swimmer. He was a competitive swimmer in high school. And the reason he was a great swimmer is because I was not a good swimmer. And so I made sure that that young man could swim and swim well. And he did. Okay? All right, let's go back down here. Anyway, kayaking and snorkeling, that's what this excursion involved. Okay, on this one, the flat paint is definitely killing the sheen of the copper. So I'm going to do, on this petal, I'm just going to use the quinacridone magenta. So none of the flat, unless there's some left in my brush. Because I just want to see if I can get a little bit more. We're just playing and experimenting here, okay? So this one is just the quin magenta. All right, let's go for some more of that and see what happens. So anyway, we decided that we were not going to, neither one of us thought that was a brilliant idea for us to go kayaking, because I just have this thought process that goes, kayaks turn over. This sounds like a terrible idea to have a person who's not a great swimmer, which is an understatement, being upside down in the water with a kayak on top of her. That sounds like a terrible idea. And so we canceled that. And I don't know if that was the day we did this thing where we just got off the ship and we wandered around. I'm not real sure. But anyway, my favorite thing is not to do excursions. My favorite thing is to get off the ship and just wander around. So we were in St. Croix, wandering. All right, I'm going to get a little bit more of the quin magenta. Yep. Well, here's the thing, Rhonda. If you're going to go on a cruise and you don't know if you like the idea, you need to take a short one first. Like a 2 or 3 day thing. That's what you need to do. Find out if you like it. That's my opinion. Because you're right. You don't know if you're going to like it till you go. All right. Let's get some of this fluorescent pink with the quinacridone magenta. And let's try putting some of this on here. I don't know. We'll find out. So anyway, we got off the ship. We're just walking around because one of our favorite things to do is just kind of walk a little bit. Of course, there's lots of touristy things because much of those Caribbean islands is much of their economy is enhanced by tourism. Who knows if this is going to work? I don't know. We're just going to keep playing with it. So I'm going to play with those colors that I just told you about. The black is blending with the acrylic paint a little bit. And who knows? Who knows if this is going to work? We're just going to play and see how it rolls. So we got, I keep sidetracking myself. So we're in St. Croix. We're off the ship. It was pretty close. Yeah, it was pretty close to where you could walk from the ship into the area where there was, they had all of these. And what amounted to was like a booths at a craft fair. They had tents set up. And then they had all of these people who were selling, kind of, some of it was handcrafted, some of it was touristy stuff, But it was quite interesting to see the assortment of things. There some places there were baskets and hats and t-shirts and tote bags and pottery and kind of you name it, they had it. And so one of the things we did is that you walk down this row between two setups of tents. So just kind of imagine a craft fair, and you just kind of walk down the row, and you've got booths set up on both sides. So that's kind of the picture of this, right? So we're walking down and looking at things, and it was interesting which people in which booths were interested in talking to you, and which really didn't really give a rip whether you were there or not, and they were more interested in talking to their friends. So that's always interesting to me, to just observe how people treat other people. And so we're walking along, and oh man, I'm telling you what, there was this one booth that had the fateful words on it. It was something about puppies in the islands. Rescued puppies in the islands. Okay. Understand that we just, not long ago lost all our dogs in a very short period of time. And then you have somebody have a thing out with rescued puppies. Shoot me now. And Elton says, let's go look. And I'm like, nope. No, I don't want to do that. I truly don't want to go look at rescued puppies. I turned around and I walked away, and I'm like, I narrowly escaped being sucked in by the rescued puppies. Okay? Because, that's like me going to the Humane Society. I want to bring them all home. Especially puppies are like kittens and babies. God makes them cute and sweet, so you'll keep them. That is the truth. And any of you who have ever done that, you know what I'm talking about. You absolutely know what I'm talking about, right? This is kind of pretty. I don't know. It has some... I don't know if it's going to work or not, but, hey, let's keep going. So we got away from the rescued puppies, did not have to go see them. We walked on a little bit further. We were getting kind of hot, so we stopped and bought a bottle of water. And so we walked back the direction that we came from. So we've walked up one side of this set of booths, and we walked back the other side of the booths. So, we've seen both sets of booths and stuff, and we walked back, and there was a bench. There was kind of like a park bench. And so we sat down. We're drinking our bottle of water, and we're kind of behind one set of booths. So it's like we're in the back side of the tent sort of structure. And this guy that was there, clearly he was an artisan of some sort. Wasn't really sure what he was doing. And then I recognized the fact that he had some kind of wire, and I started watching him. As I could watch him without him realizing that I was kind of stalking him. And I could tell by the way that he was treating the wire that he was making something. I didn't know what, but he was. We used to, Clausman and I worked with wire. Clausman was much better at it than I was, because he understood the properties of wire much better than I did. And so he did lots of wire jewelry once we got into doing that sort of thing. And so I knew that this guy was doing something, but he was making something. I didn't know if it was bracelets, rings. I don't know what it was. Anyway, so we were watching him, and I said to Elton, I said, I'm not sure what he's making, but he is making a twisted wire something. And so we walked around to the front of the booth after we'd watched him for quite a while, and he had stopped to eat lunch or something. And so we walked around to the front of the booth because his wife, it appeared to be his wife, I wasn't sure, but appeared to be his wife, had come back. She'd been gone somewhere, probably buying lunch for him. And so she was now in the booth, and so we walked around to the front of the booth, and we were looking at what they had. And indeed, he was making the bracelets. And I said to the wife, I said, and she, this was funny. She said, as I said, what is he doing? Is he making jewelry? And she said, yes, he's making bracelets. And I said, what kind of wire is he working with? Because I could tell it really took some effort to work with it. And I said, what kind of wire? And she said, stainless steel. And I'm like, my eyes rolled back in my head because I'm telling you, I've worked with stainless steel wire. My hands can't take it. That is some tough wire to bend and make things out of. That is a terrible pedal I just did, but oh well. And so we talked a little bit, and she says to me, she says, can I ask you a question? Okay, well, that's often a way that somebody will get you into their booth or whatever, but, And I said, sure. She said, I've been saying good morning. She's a scowly face on her. I've been saying good morning to everybody that walks by. And she said, you are the only person that has responded. I have this feeling I have paint on my mouth. You're the only person that has responded to me with a smile and has said good morning back to me. Why is that? Okay. Well, right about now, the answer runs through my head that my son gives me when I am talking to him about computer equipment or any kind of equipment that, or computer apps or any of that stuff that screws up and doesn't do right. And my first question to him used to be, not anymore, but it used to be, why is that doing that? And you know what he says to me? I don't answer why questions. And that is exactly what went through my head when she asked me that. I was so tempted to say, I'm sorry, I don't answer why questions. Because there's no good answer. If you answer a why question, why is something the way it is, all it is an invitation for people to argue with you. So, anyway, okay. So here is our experiment on this copper background. I don't know that it's going to work well because it's kind of destroying the purpose of the metallic background. However, if I don't paint all the background out, it might work. I don't know. The copper is not showing through. Maybe with real copper it would show through. I think it probably would show through with oil paints more than the acrylic, but I don't know. Sorry, my nose is going to run here for a second. It looks very 3D. Oh, good. Yeah, that's just the how of it. You know, he used to say that too. Okay, let's use green gold. I'm going to play with these leaves a little bit, so I'm going to put some green gold out. Which is also a pretty translucent color. And I'm going to use a little bit of burnt umber light because it was on my desk, so that I can get maybe some variety in the colors. So I have green gold and some burnt umber light, those two. And then I still have some of the yellows and some of the reds and the pinks out here, or the magenta and the pink. So anyway, when she asked me that, and I got through my initial smart aleck answer that was running around in my head, I said, I don't know. I said, maybe they were just maybe that person was just having a bad day. And I think really the person who was having the bad day was the wife. Very nice lady. Super nice. Couldn't have been nicer. But things were not going especially well for her in that moment. And she was frustrated with the response, or the lack of response, that she was getting from people. And so we started talking with her. And, you know, because I was asking questions about what he was doing, and commenting on how beautiful the bracelets were, because they were absolutely stunning. And I said, how hard is that on his hands? Because the guy he wasn't real young. I'm so sorry. That could happen again, by the way, so I'm sorry if I just blew your eardrums out. Okay. All right, I'm just going to leave that green. I filled it in just with the green gold. I'm going to put a little bit of the yellow in with the green gold to make a different green, and I'm going to fill this one in. Beckett just came back to visit. Anyway, so we ended up talking to her, and and she said, oh yes, it is very hard on his hand. It is such a hard wire. And she said sometimes that she had to, oh, just a minute. What are you doing? No, you can't do that. You cannot. You rotten cat. What am I going to do with you? Go on. He was standing. The cat. Shoot. Oh, I just blew out my switching device. All right, let's try again. There we go. Okay. He was standing on a canvas, an 8x10 canvas that I'd painted years ago of my son. He was standing on it, stretched canvas that I had laid on a surface in my room. He was standing on it. Cat. Just looking at what was going on. Yeah, anyway. So, so the lady told us that, yeah, it was very hard on his hands, and she would often have to massage his hands at night, because it was bending the wire was so hard on his hands. Okay. So looking at this bracelet, And, you know, she said, which one do you like? I knew right then that we were going to buy a bracelet. You know, it's like looking at puppies. If somebody puts it on your arm and it looks nice, you're going home with it. And this bracelet that I got, that Elton purchased for me, which was very kind, $55 for that. All of that work, $55. I'm like, that is such a deal. Anyway, and it was so neat. And when the man realized that we were really interested in talking and the process and stuff, he came over and we talked, and we had the best visit with them. It was really neat to visit with them. And okay, I'm gonna go back. I'm trying to talk to you guys, and I'm trying to like keep my wits about me and figure out what I'm doing here all at the same time, and tell you a story. And I'm operating with only half a brain, because the other half is stuffed up with whatever creeping crud I've dragged home with me. So, there you go. All right. So we're going to let this... Ugh, the cat. The cat is climbing around. Okay, I got to go get him again. Sorry, you guys. You can watch this a second. Beckett, you cannot... No, you can't do that. Go on. Go on. Go. Go on. All right. Door shut. Cat is shut out. Who knows what orneriness he will get into while I'm in here. I don't know why. They sleep all day long. But when I'm busy doing something, yeah, they're just like little kids, aren't they? Yeah. Anyway. All right. What was I saying? So I said to Elton, as we're standing there talking with these people, nice folks, I said, I don't generally ask him or comment on things that I like, because he is generous to a fault, and I seldom say to him what I like, because I don't want... I've even had the discussion with him when I've said, you know, there's things, if I tell you I like something, it doesn't mean I want you to buy it for me. I have just spent 18 months cleaning out 2 houses and getting rid of a whole bunch of my stuff and cleaning out stuff at his house so there was room for me to move in. You know, it makes it really hard for me to buy very much stuff. So just because I say I like something doesn't mean that I want to own it. I just enjoy looking at it, you know. But I did ask him on this one. I said, do you think you would maybe buy that bracelet for me? And he goes, well, yes. And he said, he said, do you have one that will fit me? And I'm telling you, folks, I about dropped my teeth on that one. I didn't think for a second, not 1 second, that he would wear a bracelet. It is, Jenny. It is. Not for 1 second did I think that he would wear a bracelet. And I didn't bring his in here to show you. It's a little bit different than mine. The braid, because it's braided wire. I'm going to show it to you again so that you can really see it. Let's see the intricacy of that braid. And he was doing that while he was talking to people and while he was talking to his friend in the booth next to him. And these have to be soldered on. And I'm telling you, soldering stainless steel, that's a whole other animal also. Anyway, we had such a good time with them. And we bought 2 t-shirts while we were there. 2 St. Croix t-shirts, which were really neat. They were embroidered on the front stuff, you know. And I had already bought a tote bag. Because that is, you know, I've traveled just enough now that I'm kind of finding that list of stuff that you need to have. Like the very first trip I went on, I forgot my hairbrush. It was to New Zealand and Australia, and that was a 16-day cruise without a hairbrush. Yeah, so I had to use Elton's. Not my best move. So I now am developing a list of things that I just should always take with me. A tote bag is one of them. And I didn't need another. I know, $55. I didn't need another tote bag. I have so many tote bags here. I got rid of tote bags. I donated tote bags. I still donate tote bags. You know, I'll fill one up with stuff that I'm going to get rid of and take it to Goodwill. And leave the tote bag. That's how many tote bags I had. Some of them are grocery stores and grocery store tote bags. And then Elton gets people contacting him all the time, you know, all the time for whatever. And they'll send him tote bags and all this rigmarole. You know, you just get to the point, it's like, not another tote bag. But I needed another tote bag because I didn't have one on this trip. Anyway, we bought a tote bag that day, which was very handy. And so I had some place to put all my treasures. Not that there were that many. You always have to remember how you're going to get stuff back home also, you know. How much space is this stuff going to take up, you know? Okay, so there's kind of this flower. I don't know how I feel about it, but we're going to have to do some other stuff with this. I'm not sure. Let's play with this a little bit. I have some ultramarine blue here. I'm going to put a little bit of that out. Anyway, we had a great time talking with these folks. And they wanted to take pictures with us, and we took pictures with them. And when we left, by the time we left their booth, they were smiling. I mean, he was smiling from the get-go, but his wife was smiling, and we really had a good time, you know. Hopefully they felt like somebody enjoyed coming into their booth and appreciated what they do. All right, so I'm just going to, okay, I gotta blend that a little bit more. Hold on a minute. I'm just playing with what kinds of effects I can achieve on this and just seeing if we can get any kind of the metallic showing through at all, or if that's just if the metallic is just gonna have to be left around the images. I'm kind of thinking that may be the case, that we might have to just leave that the copper may show only around the images. And that's okay, you know, that's how you learn. You experiment with something. I'm glad I didn't start straight off with with a piece of actual copper. Although it may work a lot better than copper painted paper. Who knows? I'm just trying to play a little bit with it. So anyway, that was that booth. And then we had gone into a store that was an art, it was a like a co-op type thing. It was a support the arts kind of store. So this was actually a store. It wasn't one of the tent structures. And we had gone in there earlier, and they had something that we should have bought while we were in that part of the, we were up a few blocks up the street. And we decided to go back and get it. It was a travel passport sort of thing. And so you could mark down, you know, the places that you had been, like what islands you'd been to and so forth, and the date you went. And so it looked kind of like a real passport. It reminded me a little bit of Janet Young's passport journal that she does, that she's doing. Anyway, we walked back up the street, all right, to go get this. And it was a pretty warm day. And don't you know that store, which I really enjoyed going into because it had artwork from kids and adults, and they had Zentangle in there. Somebody was doing Zentangle. And it was just such a neat store. And they had a donations box, and so I left a donation for them because, you know, if you're going to encourage the arts and teach, especially if you're going to teach kids and get art back in the schools, I'm glad you're here, because you know what? That darn cat's about to drive me nuts.
Both of them went out.
But there was 3 of them in the house. Thank you.
Only one now.
Only one? Okay. Thank you. Tell Tim, Linda, tell Tim that Elton has saved me. He brought me coffee. He also brought his bracelet in. Okay. So I'm going to put this on my arm so you can see. I'll get back to the story in a second. Okay? So this one is his. So it's a heavier gauge wire. The pattern is very similar to mine, but the wire is even heavier. I mean, I can't even tell you how hard that is to work with. That, yeah, stainless steel wire. But isn't that cool? Anyway, so he said I was turning him into a girl. Made him buy a bracelet. I said, I most certainly did not make you buy that bracelet. You bought that all on your own. Anyway, yeah. So anyway, we go up there to get this passport thing. And do you know what was right there? Do you know? Can you guess what was right there by the art place where we got that little passport journal? The puppy rescue. It was right there. He goes, let's just go look. Oh. And I'm thinking, okay, we're on an island, we're on a ship. There's no way that this is going to be an issue for me, because we can't, you know, we're on a ship, we can't take anything with us. And so I went back there with him, and we look over the fence at all the puppies. They had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 puppies in there. And the lady starts telling us the story about the puppies, and I said, she said, well, the goal is to get these puppies off the island because they're literally rescued from bad situations. These were young puppies, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, I don't know. And she said, we have angel helpers that fly the puppies to all different parts of the world, or whatever. And I'm like, oh man, yeah. We didn't make a commitment yet. But good night, nurse. They were some cute puppies. I'm telling you. God makes puppies, kittens, and babies adorable, so you'll fall in love with them and you'll keep them. That's true. I'm telling you, it's true. Okay, let's keep... Barb needs to get off her soapbox. And yes, Braveheart. He's outside the door. He wants to come in. He hears me talking. He's outside the door going... meow. He has become so attached to me. I swear he is Chance reincarnated. I don't know, you guys. What do you think? I'm kind of like it. I'm kind of digging this a little bit. Are you? Do you like this? Anyway. Yeah. So they have a website, and so I filled out the form on the website. I don't know. Golly, that's all I need. Some imported puppies. They were awfully cute. They were mixed breed, of course. That's kind of my favorite. I do like, there are certain breeds that I really like, but, that are actual specific breeds, but my favorite is good old pound puppies. Yes, Brave, I hear you. Braveheart is right outside my door, talking to me through the door with his tiny little meow, letting me know that I have been doing this long enough, and he would very much like for me to stop this nonsense and come hold him. If I sit down, he is in my lap. He is attached to me like a tick, which is kind of nice, but oh, he's a mess, that one. For an outdoor kitty, he has become indoor. Now what he does is when we put him outside, if he knows that we're home and we're inside, he stands outside the door. He puts his little face right up against the crack of the door and he goes meow, 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 nonstop. And then you hear this on the door. So he scratches the door for a long time, and he meows with his little face right up against the door. He acts like he's being punished. Acts like he's being punished. He does. I can't decide if I like this or not. Nobody would argue with me. He's a mess. Cat is a mess. I'm telling you, the cat is a mess. Oh, goodness, he's a mess. All right, I'm just going to let him come in. Come on. Come on. Come on, your fans want to see you. Come on. Come on. Come on, Brave. Come on. Yes. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but his little old meow. He is very different than Chance was. They meow about the same amount, but Chance was meow, because he was Siamese. Braveheart, on the other hand, come here. Yeah, he came right over here to me. Come here. And he's purring up a storm. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And here he is. He is a mess, this one. Yes. Yes. Took a long time for me to get my hands on him. I'm telling you, once I got my hands on him and he decided that affection was good, he's like, oh, I'm not going to leave you because you love me. Yeah. I know. I know you remember Chance's meow because I was listening to a video. I was redoing a video the other day to see how long it would take me to redo videos. More information on all that to come. And here's Socks. Oh my goodness. Oh goodness. I'm telling you, it's a cat house here, people. It's a cat house. All right. Here's Socks. Here's Braveheart. And now I'm going to get rid of Socks. He came in, demanded to be picked up. Here's Elton. I'm telling you, it's a virtual zoo here today. There's Elton. It's a virtual zoo here today. All right. I'm just going to see if he'll sit on my lap. So, all right. Oh, goodness. I bet you guys are so happy you came here tonight. And you thought you were going to learn something, didn't you? Hey, Terry, you thought you were going to learn something here tonight. Nope. Mm-mm. What was I telling you? They have missed us. They really have. He is just purring to beat the band. So we'll see. Chance used to sit here like this. Charlie was the one that would really sit here on my lap. He would demand that I hold him, and he wanted to sit just like this, just exactly like this, on my lap, and he would want to be cuddled, but he wanted to sit right here, but he would put his head right here. Braveheart's getting a little bit like that. He is so funny. He is the funniest cat. Can you see what he's doing? Look. See what he's doing? Yeah. He is a mess. This cat is a mess. I don't even know what I was telling you now, other than puppies. Yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen on that puppy front. We'll find out. We'll find out what happens. It would solve the problem of all these people in our lives who want to go with us and help us pick out puppy or dog. And I'm like, I don't know that we can have other people help us do this just simply because we're the ones that have to live with them. So I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I'm conflicted. I am conflicted, but we definitely need a dog. Yeah, because we live out, and there are kind of wild animals that need to be kept away. And if you have a decent dog, they can do that. Now he's trying to get on the table. That's not going to work, Brave. No, it's not going to work for you to get on the table, baby. All right, let's, this is the last one of these petals on here that I'm doing anything with. I may have to come back over this and give it another coat of something just because I'm not, there's still some little cracks in the paint that anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. let's play with these leaves just a little bit, and then we'll say so long for tonight. So we're talking about oil paints, and so I had a funny thing to tell you. If my granddaughter is watching, I'm sure she will chime in. I hope she's not watching, because I'm gonna yeah, I know, Terry. I know. We lost all of ours from June to the first part of August. The latter part of June to the early part of August in the summer. So we've lasted longer than I thought we would. Okay. I'm going to play with these leaves just a little bit, and then we'll see if I don't know. We'll see what happens next. I'm going to just mix up. I'm going to try to get a darker green here. All right, so let's put some shading here. What was I telling? God, I cannot keep my train of thought going here tonight. Oh, oil paint. Yeah, my granddaughter and her family were out in Colorado at the cabin, and they were going skiing. And they had, I don't know, honestly, I don't know how many people were out there, but there were several. And that's got kind of an ugly spot there. Let's see if we can. Hold the thought. I'm just trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear here for a second. That's better. Kinda better. One thing I'm noticing as I'm working on this is that the lights, my studio lights, reflect off the metallic paper, metallic color. So that is an interesting dilemma in doing this. That's all right. So anyway, they're out there at the cabin, and I guess one night they must have decided this ahead of time, because somehow they had the paints and canvases and all this stuff. They were small canvases, and they decided they were going to follow a Bob Ross YouTube video. I think there were 6 of them that painted, and they were going to follow this video, and they were going to paint a Bob Ross painting with Bob, tutorial like. And so they were going to do that with oil paints. Okay. Now, any of you who have painted with oil paints know that there is a huge difference between oil paints and acrylic or watercolor, right? Am I right? I'm right. Because I started out with oil paint. I haven't painted with oil in a long time. And I don't think any of them had ever painted with oil paints. And they found out that it was, not only was it a challenge, but keeping up with Bob Ross in his, realizing that this guy painted every canvas like 6 or 8 times before the recording, so that it was an absolute seamless recording type thing, So she said, we were talking on the phone, she said, yeah, we'd look down and we're trying to keep up with what he's doing, and it's like, wait, how did he do that? I missed that, So it was pretty fun to listen to. But anyway, they didn't realize that how long the oil paints would take to dry. And she said apparently oil takes a lot longer to dry than we realized. And I said, yep, that is true. And she said, so we blessed you with 6 of the same canvas. They put them on top of the cabinets in the kitchen, you know, where there's that space up on top of the cabinets. So they left them in the cabin for us. So we now have been blessed with Bob Ross paintings and in the cabin that are up over the cabinets. So anybody who is staying there before we get there again is probably wondering, how come, you know, they probably have some real questions about why we have that going on. Anyway, she said they had a good time. So, you know what? That's all that matters. That is absolutely all that matters. Okay. All right, I'm trying to just get to a point where we can call this done enough. No, you got to stay back, baby. No, you can't get up on the table. You can't. I don't know if you can hear him, but he is just purring like a freight train. Anyway, so for anybody who doesn't know, oil paints take a while to dry. You know, they do. They do. And I'm sure you can tell that I'm not really watching the chat because I'm sort of messing around with this painting and trying to keep this cat from getting up on the table. So let's do this one more leaf. And then we're probably going to call it a night here. Okay, let's do this. We're going to make a little bit more dark green, which you may or may not be able to see. And let's see if we can... I'm trying to let this be kind of loose in the style, which I'm not sure how successful I'm being at being loose. That is not my normal way of painting. However, when you're holding a cat, you know, sometimes you just kind of got to go with the flow a little bit. All right, let's see if we can put a little more light. See if we can lighten this. See if we can lighten this leaf up a little bit over here. It's been a while since I've done this kind of painting. All right, we're going to call that, you know, that's not my best work in the whole world, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, let me wash up my brush a little bit, and then I'm going to get some fresh yellow. Let's see, let's use the Diary Light yellow, which is this one, the one that's the more golden yellow. So I'm going to put some fresh Diary Light yellow on my palette. I'm going to get a brush that is a little tiny round brush. See that? And then I'm going to, I dampen it just because it's easier to get the paint out of it. I find if it dampens, and then I squeeze all the paint or the water out of it. I'm going to get a hold of some Diary Light yellow on my brush, and I am going to hopefully add some pollen dots that have kind of come off of the center. Now you don't really want to get them quite as big as I just did, so need to let some of them be kind of tiny as they sprinkle out, kind of rough up the middle of this a little bit more. And maybe pick up a little bit of that gold, green gold on this side. So what this is supposed to look like is like the pollen, like the bee came down and got the whatever on his legs, and he kind of crawled out of the center of the flower, and he took a little bit of pollen with him and deposited it out on some of those other petals. And let's put a little bit more. We're just going to kind of make it up now here as we go. I'm going to pick up a little bit more of the green, and this probably is not realistic, but this isn't a real flower, so it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to get some texture into this flower. Just a little bit. Because why not? And I can't see very well because the metallic is, and the cat is crawling on my lap now because he's ready to get down. He's tired. He's tired of this. He's ready to kind of crawl off my lap. I'm trying to get this to show up for you guys and make it up as I go along. So there you go. Nope, Braveheart. It's like having kids, you know. You got to call your kids by everybody's name in the family before you get to the right kid. That's how it is with these cats. All right. So I'm kind of tipping the paper a little bit just so I can kind of see. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think this is a successful adventure or not? I don't know. Not sure. The jury's out. So I'm just getting a little bit more color out here. If you get too much, you know, like if you get too green or too yellow or, you know, whatever out here on these petals, you can come back with the Quin Gold or Quin Magenta and dab a little over some of them, and that'll he's being a royal pain. He decided he didn't want to, but he doesn't want to go with you. He's being a pain is what he's being. Yeah. He's going to stay away from you because you might put him outside, and he doesn't want, definitely doesn't want that to happen. Ornery cat. Okay, you guys, so this is kind of the idea. This is our grand experiment for tonight. Now we have another cat in here. It's time for me to go. You know why? Because the cat house is out of control here tonight. And I need to eat dinner. Okay, so there's what we did. Here, let's do it this way. That's what we did tonight. So you can kind of see, I think you can kind of see some of the copper kind of shining through a little bit. I don't know. So I'm thinking, based on inspiration from this book, I think it's worth going and getting a piece of copper and try painting on it. I might even spring for some oil paints. I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, and Elton has a new name. You know, he started out with the name Studley Duck because And then he blew his cover real quick because he wasn't aware of the fact that you had to change your name if you didn't want your real name to show up in the chat. But there was a girl on the ship in the piano bar. She was Latin, like many of the people on the crew of this ship. A lot of them were Latin. And she could not say her J's. Her J's came out as Y's. And so she was going to sing Junkyard Dog. But it came out Yunkyard Dog. And so, although Elton used to be the Studley Duck because that was his nickname, I have renamed him the Yunkyard Dog. So I would like for you folks in the chat to vote on whether, and you can wait until Friday, I would like for you to vote on whether you think we should stick, his name should stick to Studley Duck, or if it should be the Junkyard Dog. I'm telling you, I laughed so hard when she was trying to do that, and she was singing some Jan Denver songs. Oh my goodness, it was so funny. You're a pound puppy, is that what you are? Anyway, all right. And that is the end of this crazy welcome back. I will be here Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We may continue to play with this. I may go and get a piece of copper and actually play with it. Junkyard Dog. Junkyard Dog. All right, I'm going to sign off. Me and the Junkyard Dog, a.k.a. Studley Duck, and the variety of cats that live in this now, what is considered cat house, soon to be graced with some puppies. We don't know where from or how many or any of that, but we will be having an addition to the zoo that we call home here. And so with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you've had some fun. Maybe you've tried. See, if you try something like this, if you try playing around with a piece of metal or, something like this. This is just acrylic paint, although it was golden fluid acrylic. It was just acrylic paint, and I may like it by tomorrow. I'm not sure about it right now. We'll find out. Okay, I gotta go. It's good to see you guys. I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad you came. Thank you for being here. Do something nice. Life is fleeting. We've found that out. So do something nice for somebody. I will be back. I'll see you Friday. Until then, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Thumbs up would be great. Other than that, I'm done. I will see you before you know it. Remember to get creative today, because it's easy. You saw it here. You saw it here. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.